Welcome to the second episode of the Fleming Chronicles. I'm joined here today by Evin Real EviN Kierans. Evan here currently casts Valorant and Counter-Strike for both ICE and ICL. He is also a Twitch affiliate and he currently contributes to irishtech.ie. Evan, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, Fleming. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I'm just trying to, capitalize off the success of the first one by bringing on another big name within the scene. But no, I've been looking forward to this. I kind of remember your name a little bit from back in the day, but you told me off stream that you took a little bit of a hiatus. So I suppose that's a good place to start. What got you into Counter-Strike from the beginning?
Yeah, so I got my first computer. I want to say it was like Christmas 2013. I spent a year. We had no internet at home. I spent the year playing Minecraft. That was my year. I think it was junior cert year as well, which is kind of bad.
Wait, hold on. What age are you?
I'm 22.
Oh shit, you're the same age as me. Obviously, I'm from the north, so I have no idea what the hell you're talking about at that point. Yeah. But anyway, sorry.
That's like four. Yeah, it would have been 14 or 15 at that time.
All right.
Yeah, so all of 2013, I had no internet. All of 2013, 2014. And then my friend Owen, he actually works the social media at ICE at the moment. Told me this game he's been addicted to called Counter-Strike. I hadn't heard of it. I hadn't been on the internet. I didn't know what it was. So I took my laptop into school, downloaded the game on the school internet. Whatever it was, 2 megabit per second download. 3 or 4 classes, pausing the download, moving to the next room, restarting the download. I'd say I played maybe 3 weeks worth of it offline before we eventually got internet.
What, just against bots the whole time?
Against bots, yeah, exactly. Figuring out what the guns were. Didn't have any YouTube tutorials or anything, so I was probably your stereotypical Silver One definition. Never used a mouse and keyboard. To make matters worse as well, it was a MacBook, so I had maybe 20 FPS on a good day.
I mean, you're playing with handicaps though, so once you upgrade, you should have been banging heads off, I assume.
Yeah, you would think so. So, God, that went on. I had the MacBook for about, I think it was nearly 2 years, just playing matchmaking with my friends online once I got internet. It's kind of a running joke that I always have the worst internet out of everyone on the server, like consistently. 80 to 120 ping, lagging out every couple of minutes. Irish internet as it is.
Yeah.
And eventually a time came where I was like, okay, I need to upgrade. MacBook's not really cutting it. I'm MGE now, I'm in the mid ranks.
Oh yeah, you're the big leagues.
So I put a computer together for Christmas 2016, 2017. So with the trash internet, I thought I'd try and get involved in the Irish community.
Sorry, what way did you end up finding it? Was it through your friend Owen, or was it like online, or what sort of route did you take to get in?
It was through the Irish CSGO, or the CSGO Ireland Facebook group initially.
Yeah, same.
I can't remember how I got into that, whether I stumbled across it or I was invited by a friend.
Yeah.
Either way, we heard of, I believe it was the Easter tournament that I think Calvo put together. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah,
I was Era Online or something like that.
I don't think I was. Yeah, I don't think I was around at that point. And I know Calvo, but yeah. I don't remember that tournament in particular.
So yeah, my friends and I entered that as the Wicklow Wallies. On the day, tragically, my internet cut out. On completely on the story, and we had to get a sub for me. So tragically, didn't play in that, but. Someone the lads anyway.
Yeah, I mean, someone obviously knew. Someone knew you were coming along. You know what I mean? Got you cut out somewhere. Yeah. Someone's dad was a tech admin in some ISP provider. Got you banged out.
Yeah, couldn't handle it.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously you had a failure to launch of sorts. You were supposed to start in that tournament, but what was your first bigger tournament? I don't even know if that's the right word for Irish CS, but tournament where it's not hosted by a single person running it. Maybe something like an ICL, but maybe back in the day, because obviously they weren't around at the very, very start.
When I did my leaving cert, which is like when you finish secondary school, going to college.
Yeah.
I met Incipiens in my college actually, and he was putting a team together for this new inter-college tournament called ICE. And he was like, all right, we're going to do some tryouts. There's a group of us. I'd say there was 6 or 7 of us maybe that wanted to try out. So we literally played some matchmaking together, trying to figure out, who knew what crosshair placement was and who knew how to stop when shooting.
Oh my God.
We found maybe not the best 5, but we found 5 players that could play. And then we entered the first season of ICE, and that was kind of the first tournament I'd been in.
Yeah.
Adam at the time, our Incipiens, was actually on another team as well, like sort of one that competed in, I don't think they did like an ESCI Open or anything, but they competed in some other EU tournaments and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And they actually dropped one of their players, I believe, shortly after the first season of ICE. And he was kind of like, well, there's this guy in the UCD team. He's got aim, but he doesn't really have a brain. But maybe we could, give him some semblance of a thought process if we put him on the team. So they tried me out, and we went to my first LAN, which was Raid 2018, 2017?
No idea.
2018, I think.
Yeah. And where was that based? Sorry.
That was in Dublin.
Oh, right, handy enough.
Pretty handy because I'm in Wicklow myself, so that was only like I think my dad dropped me there with my computer and everything, so it was fine. We got grouped, obviously. First LAN has to be that way.
As it does.
Had one good game against Kiddie Pool, which was like Figgy and those lads.
Yeah, I remember getting banged out. What?
Yeah, that was my first LAN experience anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had that excuse. I think every LAN I went to, I like consistently just got banged out. But you know what? We pay money for the entertainment, not for the glory. You know?
Exactly.
But so that's you now established on the scene. Yeah, people know who you are. Is there any LAN that really stands out to you? Because, you've done this raid one, you've done a couple online through ICE. Is there one that you would point to and go, that's the standard that we need to have going? Or even just, is there one that was just a complete and utter shit show that it's like, that's the standard for something we should never repeat ever again?
The first LAN probably was a bit of a standard of something that maybe shouldn't have been repeated, but
really?
It was good crack. It was good crack, but I mean, we expected to do better than getting grouped. I think we had a bit unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
So the team kind of crumbled after that, as it does in Irish CS. And the second LAN we went to, some players from that team, some players from a new team. I was Ekip, Rice, Cartel, myself, Incipiens, and I think it was Kieran was our 5th for that LAN.
Yeah,
I could be misremembering that, but that was one tap 4 up in Belfast.
Was I there?
Again, we got grouped, but we actually got a win that we were pretty happy with. We had a crazy game against Figgy's team. I think it was Figgy's Merry Men at the time.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, that was kind of a rivalry. I think that was established at the time. Just every LAN and online tournament, we'd come across them, and it would be a close game.
But yeah,
we took the win in that, and that was even though we got grouped, we were still happy with that performance at the very least. And then one tap 5 was kind of where I'd say the best LAN experience we had was.
You peaked.
We didn't go as that sort of exactly. I peaked for sure. It wasn't the same kind of mixed team. It was kind of the closest to the UCD team actually. That we had. It was myself and Incipiens, Drags, who was on the UCD team at this stage. We had Ruben, who is now was involved in ICL and all that, but now he's Air Online, and we had Ekip, who wasn't on the UCD team. He was actually on the Trinity team at the time. So again,
bit of an
rivals, but we joined forces for the LAN to try and put some results together, and we ended up coming 3rd actually as well. With it was probably I'd say we overperformed, but we did put in a lot of work for it, so it did feel justified at least.
Yeah, I mean, at least from you guys, it was probably justified. You never know what other people were saying behind your back, as is always the case. I remember a couple of those one tap ones. They felt, it's really weird that the best ran LANs were like everyone sat at a table with these big blue dividers between you with like extension cable plugged into extension cable plugged into extension cable, ready to start a fire and blow someone's PC.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a fire hazard in hindsight.
I mean, but to be fair, it was probably I want to say the best run tournament I'd been a part of, or LAN I'd been to. But I kind of heard, I'd quote, like, tell me if I'm wrong or anything, but I heard, have they sort of stopped now? Like, obviously there's a pandemic at the moment, but I've heard maybe that they've shut up shop. Or would you know anything about that?
From what I'd heard, One Tap 5 was meant to be the last one, but then One Tap 6 happened. So
one
I
last
imagine
ride,
there'll be
maybe.
One Tap 7 someday. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, no, it'd be quite interesting just based off, obviously, with Air coming, them coming into it. It might be good to have a bit of competition, obviously, between, because you've got your ice, but I suppose they're a separate entity because they run, couple month long tournaments, and it's all online, so it doesn't really conflict. But it might be nice. You kind of feel like the pretty girl at a disco or something, having two LAN tournaments fighting over you.
Yeah.
Maybe more so with you, because obviously, you're not just a player extraordinaire. You also do. I mean, I'm trying to be
not
complimentary. But obviously on the side, you do your own stream, and sometimes on that stream you may even partake in a bit of casting for the likes of ICL, which I feel like I'm obligated to say that I do a couple pieces for them, just in case anyone wonders why I'll plug them over ice at the very start. But yeah, what sort of led you? What was the epiphany that, right, my playing days are starting to become over. I'm 22. I'm an old man at this point. I can't keep it. My wrists are falling apart. So what led that transition to casting? Did you just magically fall in front of a camera?
I think it was burnout initially, because I was playing on the UCD team. I was playing on I think it was my 4th season of VSCA Open, and we were doing the best we had. We were, I think we were 9-5 at one stage up in terms of games, or 9, maybe 8-5. And then one of the players on the team got an offer to play for another team in Maine, and we were like, we were like, I and one other said to him, man, you got to go for that. Like, there's only a couple of games left, but I mean, it's not every day you're going to get the chance to play in a main team. You got to take it. Other 2 players on the team, not so happy with that advice, and they're like, there's 2 games left, would you not just finish out the tournament? And kind of crumbled a little bit.
Yeah, but I think at that point, maybe you're being realistic, because what level were you playing in? Was it open, or was it?
It was open.
Yeah. So you are playing open, like, you know what I mean. You're being realistic. I suppose have been on a main team. That's something you can then put in, like, your resume if you do have the idea of going forward, like.
Yeah, exactly. So, pretty much the player left, joined the main team. We tried to get a replacement for the last couple of games, but it just didn't really work out. So we just said, sure, look, we'll call it here.
Yeah.
At this stage, the ice season had just ended as well, I think. So I was kind of like, I've got nothing to do, and I actually feel good about it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
at that stage, I was kind of like, yeah, I might just hang up the mouse and keyboard for competitive for a little while. Casting hadn't even occurred to me until the next season of Ice, where I was kind of like, I miss the lads. I want to get involved. Casting might be a good way of doing it. So
yeah, because
led to another.
Yeah, because you miss out on that, like, camaraderie. Because I've been involved in a few things that involve you having these certain social groups, and then once you step out, you realize that they're still in the bubble. You know what I mean? So, like, even though you've left, they're all there. And I know from personal experience, I've got 1 or 2 friends in ice. You know what I mean? You message them to play. It's like team practice, or you're playing, you know what I mean? You're playing tonight, or just something like that. But obviously, did you reach out to ice, or did they come and go, that's our guy?
Oh no, I definitely reached out. I'd done absolutely 0 casting experience at this stage. I'd never, like, sat on a stream. I didn't stream myself at this stage. Still had the trash internet,
of course,
the whole shebang. So I reached out to Cardinal, who was kind of like the go-to caster at Ice. And I was like, yo, how do I cast? he was like, "Sure, if you want to hop on the stream with me sometime, we'll try to figure it out. See you're any good at it." And so we did. I think the first one, I think he actually let me do an ice game with him, and that was the first one we did, and it was great crack. I had a ball. I loved it.
Yeah,
I was probably like really bad looking back.
Yeah.
But, I had a great time anyway. I thought I was great. So yeah, from there just did another week after another and just tried to improve, watch back the VOD, see what I could do better. The biggest thing I think was giving space to the co-caster as well as like not interrupting them, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, was it sort of like, you're going from week to week, and then eventually one of the guys who maybe makes decisions turn around going like, wait, is Evin still on our bloody broadcast? Like, at what point did they like solidify it, or was it just like a known thing after the first couple of weeks? You're like, okay, I'm here to stay, or was it sort of week to week?
Yeah, I did like the one kind of tester stream with Cardinal.
Yeah,
it was what I interpreted it as anyway. And then I got in contact with Aiden, and he was like, "Yeah, we'd love to have you." And I was like, "All right, cool." So yeah, from there, I was basically just a caster for the rest of the season, week in, week out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like there's like a pool of casters, and whoever's available just puts their name forward. Kind of first come, first served, but in a more gentlemanly kind of way.
Yeah. Sort of like it's expected that a certain number will go to each person every season, as opposed to bit of a free for all. And what obviously, you made your name, as so to say, in Counter-Strike. What is it? Just the similarities between the two games that's allowing you at the moment to also do a bit of Valorant on the side, or are you maybe having the idea of Valorant becoming your more go-to game?
Yeah, so when I was kind of like in the ether after kind of hanging up the mouse in Counter-Strike, Valorant was kind of just announced, and I was like, ooh, that looks fun.
Yeah.
So I played a little bit of that even before I got into casting. Because casting I'm still really new to it. Like, it was only started 2020 when I really got into it. So yeah, so I started playing a bit of Valorant, and then the next season I started, I was like, well, kind of would like to cast that, and then Valorant got added as a game in Ice, so I was like, sure,
just jump across to that.
I may as well try casting that. It's really similar, yeah, as you said.
Yeah, no, like, and I watched it. I watched you on Monday, I want to say. Yes,
would have been Monday.
On Monday, yeah, and just like, I'm not gonna say that I've sat and watched through like long, full Ice Counter-Strike broadcasts, and luckily I don't think you were on, so I'm not gonna go, Evin. I've got a list here, buddy. No, but like, just even watching, but the difference between Valorant and Counter-Strike, there was just more excitement in the Valorant broadcast. Would you say that's more down to the individuals, or is it because, in Counter-Strike you can have that slow pace, and even when there's an execute, it's really just smokes, flashes, but people running in and getting the kills? Whereas in Valorant, one guy could be holding an angle, he's shooting people as they come in, a Jet can dash behind him, he has to turn around, hit a 180, he's dead. Like, you know what I mean? There's lots of stuff going on that can maybe make it might be hard to follow, but there might be a slightly higher level of excitement from it. Would you agree, or do you think it's more so just down to the individual casters, maybe?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of both. You kind of hit the nail on the head where it is a more complicated game in terms of like keeping track of the abilities and all that. Also, if you tuned in on Monday, that was the first stream where we had an actual observer as well. Normally the casters had to do it themselves because there's no auto director or anything for Valorant like there is in Counter-Strike.
That sounds like hell.
A lot more difficult to kind of stay hyped when you're fiddling with the numbers trying to get to the player you want to spectate. Or if your co-caster is casting one thing and you're looking at someone on the other bomb site anchoring, you're like, oh sugar, who
I gotta fly over to him.
Yeah. So yeah, the observer definitely helped, and I think myself and Dutch Source was the other caster on Monday. We both had I don't want to say revitalized, but we were both definitely in the zone on Monday because it was a
bit of help.
It was a bit of help. It was easier to do, and it was new. It felt more professional, I'd say.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, because obviously, as you rightly said, if you're trying to focus on one thing, how can you cast at the same time? Because I've done a little bit of like ACA advanced. Like, obviously no one's asked me to. I've just fired up the stream and went on and done it myself. But you know, at a certain point, you're just sort of like, okay, if it goes to a 2v1, I'll jump on the single guy. But other than that, auto director take the wheel. But as you said, with
Oh
Valorant,
yeah.
there's none of that. Do you think that's something that maybe they should add to help improve that? You know, obviously, no Riot devs are going to be watching this, but do you feel like Valorant is maybe a little bit behind purely as a spectator sport, or do you think, you know, it's relatively on par with Counter-Strike?
Yeah, see, that's the thing I think Riot have very carefully played around. You need like approval to run Valorant as a tournament, as far as I'm aware, from Riot themselves. And I think that kind of level of officialness to their tournaments kind of implies that there will be observers there to help out
Yeah.
the casters, because like any big Counter-Strike tournaments, they're not using auto director, no shot. Like, you've got Prius there working his magical ways on the keyboard.
Oh hell yeah.
So yeah, it's I think Valorant, because they have that level, you need to run a tournament for them. They kind of expect observers, but at the same time, for the tournaments that are kind of in the in between where they have approval but they're not quite as big as, you know, the giants.
Yeah, something like an
having
ice,
an
for
auto
example.
director- Yeah, having an auto director would be very, very handy.
Yeah, and then even maybe just like, okay, spectator aside, but as a base game, do you think there's anything that maybe makes it more difficult for someone, say like a Twitch viewer, he's sitting in Twitch chat all by himself, pretending he's part of a bigger community, and he sees, you know, he's trying to watch Valorant. Do you think there's anything that makes it more difficult than Counter-Strike to keep up with, or do you think there's certain things that might draw certain viewers in over a Counter-Strike stream?
Yeah, I definitely would say it's more difficult to keep track of than a Counter-Strike stream. Even as someone who knows a lot about the game myself, I still find myself kind of confused as to who I'm watching sometimes, or what side they're on. If there's a jet on both sides, it's like, oh, is this Haru or is this Big Spicy? I don't know.
Yeah, and
So
you're the professional, for example.
yeah,
So no,
dangerous word.
Okay, well, yeah, no, like, because I was watching it, and I suppose I was just lucky that it looks like the attacking side were mainly doing side hits as opposed to spreading out in the default. I feel. Do you think that, like, going into sort of the strategy level, and I'm gonna try to jump away from comparing the two games because it's been done to death, but just on this individual topic, and it's sort of an aside. Do you think, like, is there certain things you can take from like a Counter-Strike game and put it on a Valorant game, such as like a default versus an execute, or do you think you got to play it like an entirely different way to really be successful at it?
Yeah, I would definitely say there's some elements of Counter-Strike that could be extracted into
Yeah,
Valorant, even on a pro level gameplay, that would enhance like the defaults they run and the executes they hit.
yeah,
If you think of Counter-Strike kind of like a chess, where the first 30 seconds to a minute of a round, most rounds, not every round, the players are just spread out, trying to just hold the positions, getting ready to trade as you similarly would in a chess
yeah,
game. In Valorant, it seems like there's not quite a plan to begin with. Well, that's worded poorly, but there's not so much a default. They kind of have a general idea of where you kind of need to hit,
yeah,
but you also have to be ready to back off, because in Counter-Strike, one Molotov isn't enough to stop a rush. You can just toss a smoke on that. Whereas in
yeah.
Valorant, one Molotov, you have no way to counter that. You have to rethink your plan.
Yeah, no, definitely, and as well too, like, I think Valorant has such a wide and unique player base in the sense that they're getting people coming from all different realms who maybe haven't played Counter Strike to a certain degree, which would be necessary to understand the concepts of map control and, like, for example, on Split, trying to explain to people that, okay, we're gonna take vent room at top mid, but we're not going to hit A, might confuse some people, and trying to explain,
Right.
no, we're just trying to push them back, because if you're coming from Overwatch, for example, where there's objective, I go to objective, I go kill people on objective, it maybe makes it a little bit different. But do you think we'll jump back on topic, we'll reel it back in more specifically to your situation? Do you think there's anything that obviously you said you watch your own VODs. You know what your strengths and weaknesses are when it comes to casting, I'd hope. Or else maybe you've just wasted time, looking at yourself in the camera, getting lost in your own eyes. Do you think there's any skills that really, are a glowing, if there's someone watching here and going, right, I'm going to pick him up for my broadcast, what would you say you bring to a broadcast that maybe separates you from other people?
I think I'm pretty good at like staying in the moment when the action is kind of after that sort of silent chess phase of a game where it just suddenly takes off and the trades start happening. I'd say I'm pretty good at keeping on top of it in terms of what kills are happening where. I think partially because I just naturally kind of talk kind of quickly.
Yeah,
and as such, I can kind of just keep up with the fast pace as a result of that. And I struggle with that is, of course, trying to keep my pronunciation clear enough to be understood. Because it's definitely something that's happened in online games in the past where maybe English isn't a teammate's first language and they tell me, yo, dude, you speak really fast.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, I do. Sorry, I'll try and slow it down a little bit.
I mean,
so I'd say I'm good at getting that kind of balance in between keeping the fast plays descriptive while also keeping them legible.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I've been told famously I talk quite slow, which is good for when I'm trying to talk to people who don't understand English. But for the people who do understand English, it can get quite frustrating. But you said there you struggle, like you said earlier, sorry, that you struggled a little bit with giving your co-caster time to sort of get his piece in. Do you see yourself as that play-by-play or more of a color where you're sort of describing after the fact what's happened?
Yeah, I see. I feel like I can do both, and that was kind of the problem that I kind of saw. I would try to do both whenever I had something to say. But I think something that a lot of casters need to learn is even though you have something to say, you don't need to say it. You can hold on to it later. You can let your caster speak what they're saying, what they've got to say at the moment, and then when they give you the silence to take over, you can say what you need to say. And it's that kind of silence, maybe a second or two of silence that you kind of know is the transition, and that's when it's like an unspoken consent between the two casters. This is where the transition is happening.
Yeah. Do you find it makes it easier to maybe signpost those transitions and sort of be like, for example, oh, and Evan's got like a huge spray down and we're into the 2v1 and then you say the other person's name? Or do you think that's like way too obvious and shouldn't really be brought out on a broadcast?
I think it's different styles. I personally don't do that, but when I cast with Cardinal, he does that a lot, and I find it quite. It's a good way of communicating with your co-caster.
Yeah.
That now's the chance to
take over.
Your time to shine here. You can take over here. Yeah, and it does get rid of that 1 to 2 second silence, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is, of course, like if there's action happening and you want to pass it over to someone else, it's a really good way of doing it.
Yeah, you need to jump over because I actually find like. There's a balance between talking for the sake of talking, like on an ASL broadcast where it's an eco round and you've got 3 casters, which, I mean, whoever came up with the idea of having 3 casters needs to be fired. But it's that sort of like, we've got an eco and you're sort of talking for the sake of talking because Existence's team is still in T-spawn talking about what they're going to do the next round. You know what I mean? I find there's a good balance between that and just being quiet, because I feel sometimes that if you have people talking too much, maybe Twitch chat might get a bit of fatigue, and the average person watching there is like, well, these 2 people just shut up and let it happen. Sometimes, obviously, you're getting paid to talk, but sometimes maybe, do you think that having that little bit of lull might be a bit of a bit of refreshment, a bit of respite for the people watching?
Yeah, definitely. And as you said, it is hard to do when you're a caster because it does, you do think, oh, I'm being paid to cast. If I let this silence happening, I'm not doing my job. But at the same time, like as you said, it is a bit of a refreshment. I do agree there. And it's definitely something I myself could look into doing more. Because I talk a lot on casts.
What are you just worried that like Aiden's off screen with a gun being like, if you stop talking, I swear to God.
He's got his stopwatch. He's counting the seconds of silence.
Every second is a 0.0 of a cent deducted from Evan's pay. No, I actually find it's a weird one. I think, you know, I'm reasonably into watching a bit of Quake from time to time, and you know, whilst the actual gameplay might not be everyone's cup of tea, I do think if you're an up and coming caster, I say that as someone who has only ever casted myself and not ever been asked to. I force my voice upon people, pretty much is how I see it. But I think if you have a Sunday or even any time, because you can go back and watch a VOD, watching Quake is a very good game to get like from a technical aspect as opposed to like an excitement aspect, because it's 10 minutes. There is no real lull time. You may say that the lull time is sort of when the two people aren't fighting, because for anyone who's not familiar, it's 10 minutes, highest kill count wins. There's certain, you got to pick up the weapons and pick up your health and all that, but it's very much, there is something always to talk about. But even on a Quake broadcast, you do find them, they find time to sort of slow it down and just talk between themselves and explain what's going on. I feel like sometimes, like, you can get people who are like, yes, I'm really good at casting. And it's like, but are you? I mean, you can say, as you're saying, you can say words quickly, but someone like you also understands the minutiae between that give and take that I feel some people don't understand, maybe if you're casting by yourself all the time. Because, I mean, me and my friend did it. It was terrible. I kept cutting them off. And I had to sit back and tell myself, what I say is not going to make the broadcast 5 times better. Not tripping over my partner, as happened to you at the start. You know, it elevates it because people aren't stupid. They can see that. You know, they're listening to you. They know when two people are tripping over each other.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. We're all doing this pretty much, like, you know, we're just throwing ourselves into the deep end pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Obviously, there's the golden standard with like those 10 casters in Counter-Strike community that everybody knows. You've got like your Anders, Stemlar, Moses,
Cedo when he was about, yeah.
Yeah.
He was someone that was really good to watch. What I actually quite enjoy about someone like his and Jackie, who does Quake, but he also, I think he might be trying to do the odd bit of Counter-Strike, is like just stupid jokes that do not land. But like, you know, they're like near enough like dad jokes where you're forcing them. But I did it. We were casting a 10-man, and one of my friends in UU Long, he sniffed out a flank. And I rather stupidly said they should name one of those bomb squad dogs in Afghan Long, because this man could smell a flank from a mile away. You know, and it's just stuff like that I feel like it's a really, really bad like joke or wordplay, whatever you want to call it. But even just if you can slightly get a laugh out of your co-caster, even if it's like a pity laugh, I feel like it adds something a little bit, because you're showing like, you don't have to be friends to cast with someone. That's just to blow everyone's bubble. You don't even need to be friends to be on the same team. But maybe selling the illusion that you are, you know, mates outside of it can help invite people in. Obviously, that's not the main goal of someone like yourself, but it's nice to do, you know. Make people feel like it's fun to watch this. I'm not watching two people who hate each other like they've been married for 10 years.
Yeah, on those like those throwaway jokes as well. I feel like they, although some of them can be kind of like, but even still they stand out, and that's kind of what matters. You're not recycling the same lines. Like I know, God, if I had a euro for every time someone says time and time again when they're casting,
oh
I'd be
my,
so rich. I wouldn't need to cast. But and like lines like that, they're not bad, but they're just really, really repetitive.
Yeah.
Ironic that I chose that example because that is a line referring to a repetition, but those kind of jokes as well, just kind of they stand out and they freshen it up a little bit, and they do make you as a caster appear like you're bringing something more creative to the cast, to the stream.
Yeah, and I think as well too, it's all about learning your individual like quirks. So mine is those long drawn out sentences, especially with my slow voice, that help exaggerate what I'm trying to say. With some people, as you said, it might be the time and time again. They might have a catchphrase that you're like, if somebody wrote a transcript of a broadcast, you could go, right, I know who was doing that just based off the time and time
Exactly.
again. And that's not a bad thing, but it really depends what your catchphrase is. Because if you were to do what, for example, D-Man used to do whenever he cast, I don't believe it. You know what I mean? That can get very, very grating, and it's like it might even be unconscious at that point. I remember whenever I was in secondary school, I did a bit of acting. I say a bit. I did 2 years of acting, and our teacher was like, just go and sit in a cafe, or in our example, sit in a Twitch chat and just notice things that people do. Like, you might sit whenever someone's nervous. I know whenever I was doing the introduction, I'm glad it's like cuts off here, because my feet were shaking, and I have these 2 wee clippers from IKEA that I've been fiddling the whole time whilst I've been talking because like I pretend to be confident in front of camera, and it's like, you don't know how you seem until you just sit back and watch it, and it's those like little unconscious quirks that are sort of good. I mean, it's good that you're not on camera on ice, as far as I observed. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? There's no like post and pre-match where yous are all on camera, is there? Or am I?
No, it's something we're looking at implementing because it would enhance the stream, but at the moment there's nothing like that now.
Yeah. So I feel like it's good in the sense that, it's not giving away any unconscious ticks. But this is actually a decent transition to, do you think there's things like that? Because that was one thing that immediately sprung to mind, because if I was casting, I'd be going full stupid. I would have a black shirt on. I would have a tie. I'd have my hair like visibly gelled back. You know what I mean? Like, I'd play it up. Do you think it, alongside the idea of having on camera stuff, do you think there's other things that maybe ICE, for example, could do to like improve the broadcast? Because don't get me wrong, ICL, like, I love their tournaments, but I watched the last one they did, not the 2v2, the one before that, and you just pay someone to do an overlay, please. Like, for the love of God. Like, I saw the 3 team lists, the people who made it into the final, the final and the third place match, they were just there, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's just terrible. And I mean, here's hoping I don't get any shit for saying that. But at this point, I haven't signed anything with anyone. But it wasn't that great. Do you think there's anything that them and ICE could do to improve their individual broadcasts?
Oh yeah, it could always be improved. The ICL one in particular, I mean, that was literally something that was thrown together minutes before the stream went live.
Yeah.
Purely just for the sake of having something there. I'm sure there'll be something in the future that will actually like be a sort of like a branded image of ICL, like be it a font or something that people just recognize when they tune into a stream. They can differentiate between ICL and ICE. And all that sort of jizz.
Yeah, because just sorry to cut you off, but just as a side point, when I've been explaining to my partner, I've been like, yeah, no, I write articles for ICL, and I'm looking at doing admin for ICL, but I write the articles about ICE, who are this completely separate entity, and they do all this stuff. And then I'm telling my mum this, and they're both looking at me just sort of like, are you not talking about the same person? And it's like, no. I mean, that's a side point. But anyway, sorry for cutting you off. But what else do you think? Like, obviously, with the ICL example, that's probably more just effort near enough. And because the admins are also playing in it, which, we're quite a small scene. So I think conflicts of interest like that don't really matter. But personally, if I was an admin on a team and I won a tournament, I wouldn't be touching the prize money. Personally.
Yeah,
that's by the by. Is there anything you think that ICE in particular could do to help enhance their broadcast?
ICE is constantly working to improve it. Like, there's always ideas being bounced around behind the scene.
You're such a PR man. Like that was like yes, there is stuff we're always doing behind the scene to help improve our broadcast for our spectators.
No, there is suggestions constantly being tossed around. It's like people have been asking for player interviews for ages and stuff like that, and it's stuff that has been debated, and we're just trying to find a way to make it happen.
Yeah,
in a way that we know people won't come on and like starts swearing profusely at the enemy team and stuff like that. 'Cause, like, at the end of the day, you said it yourself, it is a small, tightly knit community. Everyone is friends. But how long is it going to remain a small, tightly knit community when the goal of the tournament you're running is to grow the community and make it bigger?
Yeah, at a certain point, you have to take the plunge. You know what I mean? It's all well and good. Yeah, I suppose you could. There's two ways of looking at it. There is, someone needs to be the flag bearer. Someone needs to set the standard, like an ice, and set the standard for professionality within the scene. At the same time, if you don't have the people, if the people that are playing in your leagues don't want to do that, what can you really do? Although on the player interview, I mean, I suppose that also goes hand in hand with the fact that ICE as an entity want to broadcast a game from every team. You know what I mean? Which, if you were able to do the top teams, you would know people who know them behind the scene well enough, and these are the people that have something to lose by if they come on and swear, they're out of ice. These are the people who might be able to win ice one day and get the prize pool. So I suppose if you're selecting matches that have the lesser teams, you can't really trust that they're going to have the same worry about being banned from ice in the future. But I think that's something that could be looked at, that along with player cams. Is there anything else? Because I have one more, but I'll let you, if you have any more points, sort of roll with that.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Player cams, haven't heard that one yet. But that would be interesting to see. Because I know I love personally seeing player cams for the actual, like, the pro tournaments and stuff like that. I know what was done this year for the Counter-Strike one is there's now like this sort of show reel at the start of the stream, which is just clips of like the top moments from last year or the year before, which is kind of cool. That I think it keeps people like watching it before the stream actually starts.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But the finals, I think it was in the second year of ICE, or the second season of it maybe. They actually did have a live. They did it like the casters went to the actual the raids. I think it's the raid studios or the ICE studios. Not sure the specifics there. Sorry if I got that wrong, anybody. But I the two casters, they dressed up all fancy, as you said. They had their shirts, and they did the broadcast live from there, which I think definitely enhanced the stream in a huge way. And it would be really, really cool to get something like that again when COVID ends, if that's ever an option.
I mean, yeah, and it's sort of difficult because presumably they don't have a huge budget, so it kind of limits here and there what you could do. Because if you had, say we're playing Moneyball and we're like, right, it's COVID, but I have money to spend. Ideally, you could make like, did you watch any of IEM there a week or two ago? Yeah. So the place where the analysts were, I thought, okay, I can tell bits of it are green screen, but I don't know just how much. And then I saw Yanko actually posted a picture, I think, on Instagram. And it was like, hold on, I'll see if I can get it up. Because it was green screened to the heavens, pretty much. Which, obviously they can't do that because they can't get us all in the same place. I'll do that some more time. But they couldn't get us in the same place. But ideally, if people, like, because what? You're talking maybe 4 broadcasters or casters, per game. If you had a green screen, you could near enough make like a wee studio in like graphic design or whatever you would use. Because I'm sure that I think the advantage that ICE maybe don't use is that they are a university league. You have players playing Counter-Strike who have a wide range of degrees that they're going towards, and I think it might be a shame to not use it. Because I don't know if they've done this in the past ones, but you probably have any number of cinema or like camera degree related degrees, like players like that playing in your league. Reach out to one and get them to do like playoff interviews, just stuff like that, just anything. Obviously in COVID you can do this sort of thing, but it's not that, There's things you can do. I think maybe leaning on your community a little bit more and getting people who are video editors to do take bits from the season and edit them together and have like a big opening ceremony for your playoffs. But as you said, you know, it's what they want to do. It depends how far you want to push the boat out. I think one thing that they could do with the broadcast in particular, not just individual bits, because I saw they brought up, like, they did like a player highlight where they bring up a player and they're like his stats in ice or whatever. But because we've had 27 teams, some of the players don't have pictures, so it's a black outline.
Right.
And I think maybe you could do better if you have like like a graph where you've got the values in the center, and then you have like bar charts coming out the side, and you could do head to heads instead of focusing on a particular player. Do head to heads. That way you don't have a black outline of a player, and you actually can build a storyline. Because I think that might be something that's missing, is like storylines. You know, massively.
Like your simple versus Zyru sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But again, that might be because you're trying to get every team on. You can't really build storylines. If you could follow, you know, the big boys in Group D every now and again when they play against each other and stuff like that. But, you know, that's sort of aside. So we've covered, you know, I think we've talked casting to death. I hope everyone's interested in casting, because, you know, if you weren't, you're probably not here anymore. But we will jump over. We do have, you know, a clip of you casting, because it would be kind of stupid to talk all this time about you casting and not actually show anything. Don't worry, I've not ambushed him with this. I have okayed it beforehand. I'm not going to get DMCA'd or anything. But I think it might be handy enough to just sort of sit back. I'm going to rest my voice, take a sip of water. You do whatever you want to do. If you want to do a sing along with yourself, the height of vanity, some may call that, but it's up to you. I'll not expect that, but I just hit this play. It's not too long. Obviously you can see it. I don't think you'll have any audio with it, is the only thing, but you can play it back in your head, you know. You lived it, so to say.
Burned in my brain.
Yeah, definitely.
Drags are down above the up. They're playing on the city side of overpass.
It's actually really good. Like the singing, but it flows well in my opinion.
1 AK for each of them, they're gonna push. They need to win 3 or 4 rounds to win the game. And complex.
Well, I just because I like this song, so I'll let that.
And Drags follows up with the second, and they're gonna get the first round of overtime.
Yeah, there we go. We'll stop that there. I actually played that in front of my partner, and she sung along to the end of it, but obviously she sung the actual song, but it lined up really nicely. It felt like you had a decent backing track there. Mate, you've got balls. Like,
I accidentally committed to something that I wasn't sure I could deliver on. So just before that stream, I'd figured out you could put like channel points on.
Yeah.
I called it like Evan's Elo or something like that. And I put this really high number beside Sing for 5 minutes. Jack Baplin thought that was a challenge. Yeah. And he took it as one. So he saved up all his channel points and made me do that. And now I didn't deliver the full 5 minutes because obviously...
Oh, it was 5 minutes?
Shot that was ever happening. It was supposed to be 5 minutes. Maybe it was 3 minutes. I can't remember, but it was supposed to be a while. And I was kind of like, there's no shot. That's all you're getting.
I mean, you can kind of get as well too. Just see the strain on your face for some of that. That would have blown your voice out completely. I did also see one of my friends linked me. You did do a separate points related challenge where you used, was it actually for at the end of every sentence, something like that. I don't know if I can find it, but obviously, you know, that adds something because it was a wingman tournament. So it you know, you're not expected to be all serious. Although I think that's something I might do if I ever get asked to do a wingman tournament. Just to subvert expectations. But yeah, that's one thing. Another thing you're known for, but maybe slightly less, but it could be more important on a resume as opposed to talks about video games. Is the fact that you are also quite a contributor to irishtech.ie. Is that, I don't want to dox you, but is that somewhere near where you're from?
Actually, yeah. Myself and Incipiens made that. He was kind of the ringleader of it way back in first or second year of college. Well, not way back. It was only like 2 years ago.
Wait, sorry. The ringleader of the picture, or the site, or
The site, he owns the site. He made it himself. He himself writes for XDA as well, like a big Android developers.
Yeah.
So he kind of wanted to make something more central to Ireland. And I kind of saw that as an opportunity to kind of see what writing is like, because I love writing. I do loads of fantasy writing in my spare time. I run a couple of Dungeons and Dragons games where I do that sort of thing. So I was like, okay, well, maybe a more serious kind of writing might be something I'd be interested in. So I gave it a shot, and well, potentially more to come soon, because I do enjoy doing it.
Yeah. No, and I think it's kind of good. Obviously, this is going to blow the trumpet of someone who's not even on the show. So, Adam, you can thank me for this free publicity. But like, I think it's always good to have people who sort of leave the scene, because this is a scene in and of itself. We've talked about Counter-Strike scene, the Valorant scene, whatever. There's like local tech and stuff like that. Obviously, users are still reporting about big companies, but it's just nice for someone to see themselves near enough and see, there are people from my area maybe, or my country, that are doing this on websites and stuff like that. It can be nice sort of to look up in. Obviously, you do reviews and that sort of thing. Because even like going to lands and stuff, to go full circle almost, just seeing people from your area is quite big, because I was like, oh shit, I'm going to be able to get Evin on this. And like, you may not see yourself as sort of, someone thinking that, but to me it's like, I remember sort of coming in the scene and hearing your name a little bit, and then it's sort of cool to talk to people who are there before you almost, and who have like done things that you would like to do. Like, I would like to do casting. Obviously I do a little bit of writing, which I didn't realize you did writing until I looked more into you. So like that, strange. It's all, I hope no one thinks I'm trying to copy you. Although
actually, funnily enough, on that note, did a bit of writing for ICE in the past as well.
I mean, thankfully I don't do writing for ICE, so we're not quite following in the same footsteps. I write over at iclhub.ie, in case anyone's interested to go read my writing.
Check them out.
Yeah. But so, you're an extraordinaire. You're a talented man, a man of many talents, one may put it more eloquently. And the last thing you do, we'll do it. You can do yourself a bit of fan service. We can put you over, to use a wrestling term, put you over to the crowd so they know what kind of man you are. You also have sort of like a wee side hustle, we could call it.
I do.
A wee side hustle on Fiverr, which is digital and not necessarily fantasy, because I have seen you have done. You did one of the USA as well. What possessed you to do it, Evin?
So back in this time last year, when COVID was approaching, I was looking for a job, and unfortunately couldn't get one before COVID hit, and as such I was broke, not eligible for COVID pay. Didn't have an internship at the time or anything in college, so I was like, well, damn, that sucks. I want to make some money. So I posted a gig on Fiverr, doing something that I had put some time into in the past, which is making maps for my own games. And yeah, people, I guess I found like a niche where there was a demand for something that there wasn't much supply for.
Yeah.
And it kind of just took off. And I pretty much constantly have a full order queue at the moment. People message and I have to tell them, will you wait a week or so and then I'll send you an offer.
Wait a week? Like, when you say queue, because I'm obviously, I told you off straight, I'm thinking about like going through with one of these. Just so people know, I'll be paying full price. I'm not paying extra to get him onto the show. He did that before even I knew about this Fiverr thing. So before people think I'm bribing you to come on, I swear to God. But like, whenever you said you had a queue, I got kind of sad. But when you said it's a week, like, how long does it take you to put one of these together? Obviously, there's different levels to it because you have different amounts of detail. But let's say the standard one, how long would that take you to put together?
Yeah, the basic one's fairly quick, as long as the customer has kind of interpreted what they're getting from the basic one. Like, most people don't go for the basic one because they want the fully fledged map. They want to see the best it can possibly be.
Yeah. just out of these ones, is there any in your pictures from the Fiverr website that are basic ones?
Some of them are. Most of them are the premium ones or the middle packages.
Yes.
That one there, that was a basic one. If you go
This
back
one?
yeah, that's the basic package one. It's just locations,
yeah,
a couple of continents, not too much detail.
You're still getting a decent bit though. And then so obviously the next tier from that is your standard.
Yeah, which standard and the premium, the main difference is kind of how much revisions you want. That was, if you go back one, that's kind of what I would call a premium plus one, because there's so much detail on that one. It probably doesn't show up too well with the watermarks there, but the full quality resolution of that one was 8K, and you can zoom in right onto the towns and see like locations within the little settlements. That one took a while. That was probably about 3 weeks there.
Okay, and then I'll click through and just tell me when to stop on a standard one. Would this probably be? No.
That was a standard one. Yeah, that one there.
No, like
I believe that was actually for a book, if I remember correctly. That's going to get published, hopefully.
I saw you tweeting out about two of your maps had been included in a book. That, like, it's cool. I mean, some people, not me, but some people might say, man, that's some nerd shit. But I personally, I think it's cool. I'll be honest. As I said, like, with the with the one of the USA, was this, because I obviously see the little Revolution, American Civil War. Did you have, were you specifically asked for a more historical one showing the territories?
Yeah, this was, I believe the customer wanted a board game. This is like the actual board. So it was an interesting interpretation of what I offered. So I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds like a challenge. I'll take that on. It was a premium one. So it was the full price. And I believe, the timing for it was about on par with any other map. It was just unique having like the numbers and stuff to correlate definitely to different locations.
No, that man, that's how like. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I wish I had the time or the effort or the talent to do it. I'm trying to avoid saying I have the talent to do anything. But yeah, no, like I feel like even though you're a man of many things and many talents, we may have slightly exhausted our topics of conversation. I'm sure if we were just to talk about random stuff that we're both interested in, you know, we could waffle on for ages. You seem polite. You seem like the kind of person who would let me go into endless detail about my many things that you don't care about. But we obviously have to call it somewhere. So you stream. All links will be in the description, by the way. I'll have a link to your Fiverr, your Irish Tech, all that sort of stuff. Where can people find you the most, and what else are you doing? I know you're casting tonight, but other than that, is there any other places people can find you, or is there anywhere in particular people should specifically pay attention to?
Yeah, my Twitter is where I'm most active. It's where I put a tweet out if I'm casting or if I'm streaming, that sort of thing. As for anything I'm involved in soon, there's the ICL tournament coming up this weekend. Be casting that one with some other lads. So that should be a load of crack, so be sure to tune into that. Other than that, you catch me every week or every other week on the ice channels for Valorant and Counter-Strike, Mondays, Wednesdays.
7 to 9 roughly.
Bingo.
No, thank you very much, Evin. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. It's been nice to talk and just take things slow, you know what I mean? Slow in our relationship, as I say. Thanks very much for watching. I'm probably going to edit in a different ending because I find my on-the-fly ones suck, so I'll be writing a script for that. Ryan, in post, enjoy yourself.